Hello, everybody. I'm Craig Kimbrough, a Positive Guru. That's positiveguru.com. As always, glad to be here with you for this journey into the world of spirituality, metaphysics, and meditation. Just the other day, I was thinking about uh, my book, the second book I wrote, 30 Days of Metaphysics and Miracles in Your Life. And, it has all these sayings, all these aphorisms. And as I was thinking about it, I was thinking about how a lot of these aphorisms or sayings are things that you may hear about, see in the Bible, or have been told throughout your life. I mean, some of them are specific to the meditation path, and others are specific towards things that my teacher, Mr. Bristol, would share. But these are things that he shared over the years. But what really made it work in my life, these sayings and parables, and was the turning it towards the meditative life and applying it in your life, applying it spiritually in your world, and even a spiritual understanding of it. And of course, the way I would get it was that I'd be going through something, and then he would actually say one of these things to me that I've heard many times before, and say it in relation to what I was going through at the time. If we live these higher thoughts, if we apply them in our world, and in addition with this, if we are meditating, man, it just catapults us in life. And I had one in particular that I opened up to today that I had on my mind, and it was a pretty interesting one. It says when God chooses to express himself, he's not too particular as to what suit he wears for the occasion. And I don't have the book in front of me, but that's what he would say often. And I, of course, have my explanation of it. But basically, the whole idea is that God in the universe is always talking to us, always trying to get our attention through all these situations that we're going through in life. The universe is talking to us. With this pandemic, the universe is talking to us. And I was even talking with some friends yesterday, and we were talking about this very subject. And I was saying that, this pandemic is God trying to tell us something. I've heard people tell me that it is considered to be reset, but God is trying to tell us something. And yes, it's been tragic in many ways, no question. But it's like God is getting the whole world's attention. And if as it continues, it may mean that we are not fully getting the lesson yet. We often think, well, I got to get back to where I was. I got to get back to the life that I had. But do you really think that God or the universe has gotten your attention just so you can get back? What are you learning in the process? What are you getting from what's happening? If you get it, then things become beautiful. And if you add it to your meditations, if you get your mind off the cares, the worries, the thoughts, the hopes, then maybe we can see more clearly what the universe is trying to tell us. When the universe is trying to tell us something, it's not the universe is giving us a spanking. I told you not to do that. But no, actually helping us to get to where we will ultimately love to be. We will ultimately be most happy. Now, helping up to another page, thoughts are things. And Mr. Bristol would say this all the time, that thoughts are things. They are real. They are out there. They are waiting for us to experience them. They are just as real as the things that are here in front of us. Matter of fact, everything that's come into our life has come on account of a thought. We are the thoughts of God. The thoughts of God, the thoughts of the universe. We also think and create our mini worlds And everything in our world and everyone in our world is a part of the thought of us. We are dreaming these things into manifestation. We are dreaming the ways in which people interact with us, the ways in which people treat us. We are dreaming our income situation, and we are bringing it into manifestation into our world. When I thought about how these thoughts are things, I was just thinking about how everything that's in my life, all the things that I have are things that I had thought about. And then when they show up, I say, man, I've been thinking about that. And even more crazy is, I would say, man, I've been talking about that. I used to talk about how difficult it would be to find someone as a partner in a relationship that had all these different attributes that I was looking for. Me and my friends at times would talk about how impossible it is to find a woman that is like this. And I'm sure women are like, yeah, I can't find a man that's like that. But we would talk about this often. And at some point, my rhetoric changed. My speaking out had changed. Even my thoughts, I guess, had begun to change, because I remembered having a situation in the past where a person may have appreciated me the way I felt I wanted to be appreciated, and all these other things that I felt like I was looking for. And I had said, if I ever come across that again, I'm going to make sure that I do this, this, and this. And I found myself saying this to my friends, and I found myself saying, if you ever find that, man, you better grab it and hang on to it. You better grab her and run with her and hang on to her. But the thought shifted. Now it's no longer, this is impossible, but it's, when it comes, it better be this way. And then I had an interesting thing happen. It's happened to me other times. Many times when I say, if this happens, I'm going to do this. God will say, okay, well, here you go. Now what you going to do? And then I had to make changes in my life because it happened. And then I said, oh man, now she's here. Now what do I do? And I'm like, I can't believe it. It's just like the things I've been talking about. Well, I guess so. I was bringing the situation into manifestation just by talking about it. Not even realizing I'm doing it. But my thoughts are going there. So then it's, now what am I going to do when it arrives? Now, as I said, when God chooses to express himself, he's not too particular what color suit he wears for the occasion. When the universe is talking to us, the universe cares not how it comes, only that we can receive it. And then it's up to us as to whether or not we're going to be able to receive the information when it comes. Just recently, a friend of mine and I were talking. He was telling me about a dream that he had. And the interesting thing was, prior to the dream, he was talking about this pandemic and the things that can't be done on account of pandemic and how the world is just not the same. And in some ways kind of saying that, man, it's so good when we had it like this. I could just go over to Canada. I didn't need a passport because that was pre-pandemic. I could do this and I could do that. Now you can't even go to Canada at all. Now you can't even do this at all. Now these things have changed on account of this pandemic. And then he began to talk about a dream. And as he began to talk about a dream, he was describing this dream in which he was liking this girl. This girl was in his past. Like, he remembered her from the past in real life, but this is in her, she's in his dream. And in his dream, he is starting to date the girl, and he's going by her house. And her house is on the favorite side of town of his, the side of town he speaks so fondly of. And when we were growing up over here, it was like this, and it was like that, and she's living over there. And when he's going to see her, he realizes that there are guys across the street with guns in the dream. And she's telling him, oh, you got to be careful coming at this time, and you got to watch out for this because those guys across the street, this and that and the other. And he was also saying that she had a brother. No, not a brother. Even more crazy. She had an ex-boyfriend that he had to be approved by in order to be with her also. And he was going through this uncomfortable situation in this dream. And I was asking him, how did he feel about the dream? He said, what's that dream about? I said, well, how'd you feel about that dream? Oh, he also told me, he says, I forgot, you were in the dream with me also. He said, you had drove me to her house and dropped me off. and that part of his world, when he lived on that side of town, where he grew up and knew all those people, there's been other times in which he said, myself and a friend was in his dream also when he's in that part of the world. But those people I know not. I was not a part of his life when he was living on that side of town and in that world that he speaks so fondly of. And when we were talking about it, I said, how'd you feel when you saw those guys? How'd you feel this? I didn't feel good at all. And I found it interesting that he did not feel good about being in the place that he always speaks so wonderfully about. And it was just the most interesting situation. He did not feel comfortable being with this beautiful girl who I guess he says in real life he never really liked her that way. And I was telling him that I just from everything that he's telling me about the dream and how uncomfortable the dream was, and then I dropped him off at the house in this part of town and everything. I said, man, it almost seems like you're looking someone from your world here and someone that's also involved in your spiritual journey in life and metaphysics and meditation and talks with you about it all the time and so forth. Someone from that world comes to your old world and drops you off this world that is just so, the good old days. We all talk about the good old days. It drops you off to the good old days, but it ain't so good. And I was saying, a lot of times we think of the good old days. Man, it was so great when we had this. It was so great before the pandemic. It was so great. I got to get back there. But many times if we actually get set there, we realize that it was good. But there's some things about it that maybe I forgot. It was good, but maybe where I am can even be better. Maybe I have to embrace where I am and not look so fondly to the past. Maybe I have to embrace where I am and not look so fondly to the future, but just really get what's coming today. And I said, I'm guilty of that. I was thinking back on as I move into new situations, and I'm thinking, man, the old situations are being left behind. But then I realized that this is the place to be. And I was reminded once again that this is the place to be. This is the great place. The good old days are today. And they may have been good then too. But it'll be better today because we are more realized today. Heaven is here. Heaven is now. That's the message. When we get it right now, that this is what God is trying to bring us, this is where my happiness is, we feel so good. We feel so blissful. We feel so at peace. When we get it right now, that this is where our happiness is, we get lifted to even more beautiful places. When God's trying to express himself, he's not too particular what color suit he wears for the occasion. The question is, what is God trying to tell us right now? If we're being forced to do certain things, is this something that I needed to do? Some of us, I realize that I have to stay in a little bit more. Is this something I needed to do? Is this where I can take more time to devote towards the mission that is my life? Is this an opportunity? When God's trying to express himself, he's not too particular what color suit he wears for the occasion. I have a son that has anxiety. And the times that the anxiety raises, yes, we have psychologists that we go to and all these types of things. But do you know the largest growth usually comes from techniques that he and I use that I already knew relieved anxiety. I mean, after all, I teach meditation. And yes, the psychologists give information that, yeah, you should do this and yeah, you should do that, and it can be helpful. But the techniques that he and I use to change the anxiety like that are things that I've been planning to do with him anyway on a consistent basis for years. And we may do it some here and there, but now we've been forced to step it up. But this is what's been needed anyway. These are things that I planned on doing anyway. Sort of like my teacher would explain that when he came back, he was going to be a young yogi living in the house of a millionaire. And this time he would have education. He said his karma was such, when he came back, he would grow up in this science. It just so happens that that's what's happening with my young. He's growing up in this science. And sometimes things have to happen in order to get the message that, yes, the time to start is now. Don't feel funny about it. Do it. There are people that are in our lives waiting to benefit from the way in which God wants to express himself, in which the universe wants to express itself, the whole universe, through you. There are people in your life that are waiting on that from you, and you don't even know it. That's part of the reason why they're in your life. There's no coincidences in this world. The question is, are we going to open up to it? Are we going to allow that to happen? As we allow that to happen, that's when the peace, that's when the happiness arrives. We can think these things into manifestation, great things. But then once we get them, how are we going to deal with them? We have to move into the peace. We have to move into the oneness. And then we can see the full picture as to why these things are in our lives and how to live in a state of peace and bliss with this life that we have created. How to live in peace and bliss and to create the life that God in the universe wants to create through you, through me, through us. This way of practicing, this way of paying attention, is a way to move into that life. And it is right here waiting on us. There's no coincidence that we are going through the things that we are going through right here, right now. The kingdom of heaven is spread upon the earth, but men don't see it. The kingdom of heaven is spread upon the earth, but women don't see it. We must become as little children. We must become enthused. We must become happy. We must become playful right here in the midst of what's going on. These are the good old days. And tomorrow are the good old days, and we can embrace it and live within it. And when you get it, when you really get it, you'll feel extremely good, massively in touch with the universe. You'll be able to barely feel your body when you really get this information. I have that happen often. When I really get something, all of a sudden, I can't even feel my body. I'm in a state of unbelievable happiness. That's also God expressing, saying, yes, this is where you belong. So the question for today is, what is it that God's trying to tell me? Where is it that God's trying to move me? Why are the things that are in my world happening? What's the lesson I am to get from it? If we don't understand it, if we become open and we really decide that getting the lesson is what's most important, not saying, why did this happen? Why did that happen? When can I get over here? But and I do that all the time, but I have to move into, why is this happening? When I do, and I truly ask the question, dialoguing with the universe like we talked about last week, the answer shows up. When I meditate to make sure I'm open for the answers and am honest with myself that I really would like to answer more than I want to be in the comfortable place, the answer shows up. If I realize that I have to get the answer in order to be in the truly comfortable place, and I look for that first, the answer shows up. And when we act, live, move, and act in that way, the truth is great, but greater still is true living. We live according to the answers that showed up. Now, God has expressed himself in your world to you for a reason. Now, you are working together with God. Now, you can shine your light and no longer hide up under a bushel of our thoughts, worries, concerns, and what if this and what if that, and why not this and why not that. This is what life is about. And we can connect and move into a golden age in our own world. Right here. This is the golden age. This is the time of peace, love, happiness, spirituality, opulence, abundance. The time is now. They say Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is spread upon the earth, but men do not see it. When will the kingdom come? When this happens, when that happens, when this pandemic is over? Was it back then, before the pandemic? Well, the kingdom of heaven is spread upon the earth. It's right here, right now in your life. And God is trying to express himself and doesn't care what color suit he wears for the occasion. God is trying to show you how heaven is right here, right now in your world. Our job is to say, well, how is this bringing me into heaven? Our job is to see it. And we can do it. I'm Craig Kimbrough with Positive Guru. That's positiveguru.com as always. I'm so happy to have you along on this journey and look forward to seeing you again next week. Peace and blessings to you all.